Hello and welcome to another episode of Dime.Scheduler in under 10 minutes. In this video, I will show you how you can plan assembly orders in Business Central using Dime.Scheduler. Our connector for the assembly module doesn't introduce any new concepts that we haven't seen before, but I will give an example how easy it is to use and extend our standard capabilities and come up with some creative solutions. So let's get to it. Well, by now, I think you know the drill. I have a browser open with two tabs. The current active tab is showing our trusty planning tool, Dime.Scheduler. And in a second tab, we have a standard version of Business Central. And we're going to use standard assembly orders to plan. I've prepared a little user profile which I thought was relevant for planning assembly orders. So we will have our open task list at the top left corner of the screen. We have a planning board with our list of resources. We also have a capacity and planning pivot grid to show who's overbooked and who's underbooked. And we also have a resource filters component that could help us out with looking for the right resource for the job. And that's about it really. Everything else has already been covered in previous videos. So I'll just hop over to Business Central and create an assembly order, which we can then plan in through our open tasks list. Let's go to the assembly orders list, and then we can create a new assembly order. And we can keep it quite simple really. All we need to do is fill out the mandatory fields, which would be the item number and the quantity. And that's pretty much it really that we need to get started planning. As always, when you install the extension for Dime.Scheduler in Business Central, that will add some buttons across the tables to link Dime.Scheduler and Business Central. And as always, you will find a couple of buttons under the Actions menu in the ribbon, and then under Dime.Scheduler, you can send this order to the planning tool so you can look for the right resource to assemble this item. So let's do that, and then we can go back quickly to look for the right person. As always, once a task enters Dime.Scheduler, it is completely up to the planner to decide what will happen next. Depending on the information provided, the planner could consider using a component like the resource filters. That makes it easy to locate resources with certain attributes, like skills, like zones, like departments, languages, and so on. So within a few clicks, you can construct a filter and then apply that filter on our list of resources. So these are the resources that we might consider assigning to that order. Or the planner could consider using the capacity and planning pivot grid. That makes it easy to see who's overbooked and who's underbooked. So let's take the 28th of February as an example. We can see this resource has a load of 100%, which means he has nothing left to plan. So he has a variance of 0 hours. In contrast, the other resource below him, Damon, has a variance of 8 hours, or his load, his capacity is 0%. So we can still plan him in for 8 more hours on that day. When all is said and done though, it's all about dragging and dropping a task on a slot on the planning board. So all you need to do is locate the right resource, find the right date and time, and then drag your task on that slot on the right date and time. And then we can continue and see what happens in Business Central and other connected systems. You may have noticed at this point that the color has changed of this assembly order. We'll see in a second. This has been caused by a webhook system that we've connected with something that we've built especially for this demonstration. But before we go there, let's first have a look at what happened in Business Central. We are looking at the same order that we just created, and you'll notice two things have changed. First of all, our dates have been set to the date of the appointment on the planning board. And secondly, we'll have a new line for type resource. And then we have the same resource with the same quantity as the duration of the appointment on the planning board. It's also possible through setup to create an assembly order and send along the resource with it, so it creates an appointment directly on the planning board rather than having to go through the open task list to assign that resource to the order, much like how we did it in previous videos. So far, there was nothing new that we haven't covered before. But there is something new that I want to show, and that's something having to do with a concept called appointment templates. Appointment templates make it possible to extend the data model and add additional properties to the appointment data graph. And they will become available as tabs and fields in the appointment card. So if I double click on this appointment that we just planned in, we'll see this assembly tab here. That's an appointment template that we've defined in our setup. So this tab extends the standard data graph with your fields. And for the purposes of this demo, we're going to keep it simple. We just want to follow up on the status of our individual assembly steps. And we're going to use it, by the way, to reflect and update the subject with colored blocks so we can visually see what's the status of our appointment. Let's have a look first at how this appointment template setup looks like. We'll take a deep dive in a later video, but I just wanted to show you how extremely powerful appointment templates could potentially be. I have a very simple setup. In my template, I only have one tab, and that one tab has 3 fields, and all of them happen to be Boolean fields. But you could add text fields, date fields, and even option fields, and link it to your tabs and other templates. And as we'll see in a second, we have a listener setup that checks the values of these steps and then adds a color to our subject to reflect the status of our assembly order. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again. As soon as you make any kind of change to the schedule on the planning board, we are going to reach out to the systems that want to be notified of these changes. So it will write back to Business Central. It might also synchronize people's Outlook calendars, but it can also make contact with any system that can accept an HTTP post request. That's what I've done in this scenario. I have set up a very simple web application that processes the appointment templates, and in particular the 3 steps in the assembly process. And it will then add, depending on the checkbox, it will add a colored box in the subject of the appointment so the planner can see what the status is without having to open the appointment detail card. So let's see how that looks like. Double click on your appointment, and then we can navigate to our section right here, and then let's complete the first step. As soon as I hit the save button, it will reach out to Business Central, it will go to Outlook, and also invoke our little web application to process this event right here. Let's hit the save button, and then we can see within a couple of moments, we have now a color box here that represents step 1 has been completed. Let's complete step 2 also to see the progress. There should be a green box right here that represents step 2 has been completed. And then when we complete step 3, it will also update the background color to represent the status is completed. So let's do that. Let's go to tick this box. That will add a 3rd block here and also change the color of our appointment. And as you can expect, that will also write back to Business Central, so you're notified of that particular change as well. With a line of maybe less than 20 lines of code, I've been able to build a system which I think is extremely powerful and extremely useful to build bespoke and some creative solutions. With assembly orders, there is already a lot that comes out of the box in Business Central. By plugging in Dime.Scheduler, you can easily visualize your work and plan your assembly orders. For more information, check out our website Dime.Scheduler.com and get your free demo. And I'll see you in the next episode.